Okay, next up, I thought this was going to be all rocks and spodumene, but I saw JP over here, and I said, JP, we got some extra time. I thought we only had an hour. Why don't you kind of come on? We cover more, hard rock, but not exclusively on Rockstock channel, and we've been following and supportive of your story. Not a shareholder, but like many stocks, your stock has been going down. You've had to do some equity raise. If you could just kind of update our viewers who've never seen you on our channel, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who follow you that would love to hear what's going on.
Yeah, well, thanks for the invite. This is a very good conference, by the way. It's been well attended, and I'm really pleased to be here. And it's been good to reconnect to everyone. And we've been quite actively busy with here with Daniel. We're generating quite a bit of interest because the next thing for us that the market sort of doesn't really realize is that we have a lithium chloride concentrate strategy. We have given thumbs up by the government of Catamarca, so we can, in other words, export our product, and we can sell that within Argentina as well. And this is a whole new ballpark for us. It means that we can place our chloride anywhere around the world. There are strong, suitable interest. We've been to China also with Daniel, and from that trip, there's been advancing conversations that are looking really interesting in terms of the payability. It reinforces the study also that we did in terms of payability that we can get for lithium chloride concentrate, that in our study was 70%. And
70% payability for lithium chloride?
That's the study. So we
versus a lithium carbonate?
Carbonate pricing, yeah.
Battery grade or technical grade?
Battery grade.
That's a very high payability.
Absolutely. And so that was what we did in the study. So we're yet to come with the number on a contract, and when we disclose this, but what we're seeing is that the interest in China is quite strong. Today, China is the only place other than Chile that can convert lithium, and Argentina as well, that can convert lithium chloride into lithium carbonate. But importantly, there are companies in China that can take our lithium chloride, polish it, and use it directly into LFP batteries. So that is sort of one of the main things that we're seeing as why the LFP batteries has a strong interest and commanding in China, and our product comes with a lot less steps going forward, and therefore a higher payability and potentially higher than the one that we had at our study. Now you brought the point that our share price has been depressed, and we're all aware where the lithium market is. The rhetoric that we hear in the West that the uptake is not quite there, and we see all the contrary happening in China. Yes, there could be a slowdown during this year, and the pricing has been reflecting some of that. But I would like to highlight that the current pricing for us is not about pricing. So our operating costs are approximately $3,500 a ton for production of lithium chloride. Our payability, as I mentioned, is around 70+% of the lithium carbonate equivalents. So the margins are there, they're very healthy, and therefore we believe that we got a solution going forward for Galan to become a producer and have healthy margins. Even if you extrapolate 12 months' time where everyone is going to be potentially under the same sort of strain of pricing, that I don't believe it's going to be the case though. But if it is, as a lithium brine producer, we have a low operating cost and we can be profitable. We have a business case that we can demonstrate that we can live and survive and thrive in this sort of environment. So short-term pain, yes, we're not necessarily where we want to be, but we've been dragged by the market volatility, the view of low lithium pricing in the environment. If you're a hard rock producer, definitely it's something that you don't want to be in. But don't forget the brine producers, that everyone that's in the brine business is making money. Look at all of them. Look at our neighbors. Look at Albemarle. Look at SQM. They make healthy margins in the current environment.
Brines are definitely low cost, but you're basically saying you're going to sell potentially directly to China. What about the Glencore relationship?
Well, that it's something that it's all what I can say is all options are on the table.
So this trip to China, this is like an alternative. Glencore has been quite slow, or you've been quite slow to finalize an agreement, like since you announced the MOU. But like you see, there's lots of Chinese groups, Atlas and others, are actively securing spodumene and providing capital for that offtake for a certain quantum of product for a certain duration of time. Mm-hmm. Is that what you think you're contemplating with some Chinese partner?
Well, China is quite active and very rapidly moving in terms of finding a solution for our product. And remember, we have phase 1 and 2. Phase 2 is coming up in terms of permits. So the Galan solution is not only just a small piece of that we're just looking at today. We have a growth plan, and there are many solutions for our product to be placed. So this is the beginning. This is a way for us to get into cash flow, being a producer, and whoever we do further offtakes with, that's all open and is still on the table.
Okay, but you got the export permit for lithium chloride, basically.
We have the understanding with the Catamarca government. We are finalizing those permits. We're not far away from getting them. We have good discussions with them in terms of all the fine-tuned details that it's in there. So we don't see any problem coming from that end. And we don't see also any problem from phase 2 permit, because we already ticked the boxes on the checks that they needed to do in terms of the technical stuff. So the next one is a public consultation, and once the public consultation gets over the line, then the permit should be granted. So within the second half of the year, we should get the permits for phase 2, and before that, the permits for the commercialization of our concentrate.
Okay, but in terms of, do you plan to fund stage 2 from cash flow from stage 1?
Part of that is going to be paid by phase 1, although the capex won't be 100% payable from phase 1. There'll be further capex to be payable through
How much is the
party.
capex for phase 1?
Capex for phase 1 under the study was around $110 million US.
And how much lithium chloride will that produce?
5,400 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent per year.
Okay, so if you got an offtake for 5 years, 10 years from a Chinese group, they gave you $120 million, you'd be selling them 5,400, well, if you gave it all to one customer, and you're speculating or you're suggesting that they may give you 70% of the battery grade carbonate price.
Correct.
Okay, so if that's 15,000 or whatever, 14,000, 70% of that, so call it, you get $10,000 a ton times
and we can get a margin.
That's $54 million a year. So that would be, if they gave you a full $100 million, a 2-year payback on that. How far after stage 1 would stage 2 come online?
We believe that it depends on the market's conditions, but we don't necessarily have to go all the way to phase 2. We can go from phase 1 to phase 1.5 before getting to phase 2. Because remember, we are building ponds, and all of this is modular. So we don't need to come out with the whole capex for phase 2. We can come with somewhere around half in order to grow and continue to get offtakes, get funding, and continue to grow. We have a long road to go. We don't expect to do all this at once. We understand that market conditions are difficult, but we also seen a very strong interest from the companies that are embedded in the battery development to commit to contracts, commit to funding, commit to developing in brines, because they see that brines are the ones that can survive in any environment.
Mm-hmm. You just hired a CFO.
Yes.
Can you tell us about him?
Ross. Look, it's been we headhunting him. He's been a guy that's been working internationally before. He's from Perth. He got the experience that we need. He's going to be a crucial part on the funding side of things, especially looking at phase 1.5 or phase 2, because we need further strength into the team. We want to grow, and we want to be able to get the best deal that we can get for Galan in order to fund the subsequent phases, Because if you look at where Galan it is and where we want to be, we definitely need to have a bigger, stronger team. So Ross has been a pivotal part of this, where his experience is all on the credit side of things. So we do have already a good finance team, but we need that part of the funding side where it is, and equity not so much because that's what we've done, but on the debt side of things, he's had the right relevant experience for Galan then to get the next leg of funding that we need.
Okay, and you just raised money at what price and how much and how long does that get you? Because there has been, people are tagging me on X and other places just, you went full throttle, you spent a lot of money to get the brine inventory. I think you told me in November that was like really important to prove the concept, but there is you've had to take dilution at a low price as a result of running out of capital.
Yep, it's all about going and take the project forward. Yes, we raise Australian dollars 13.5 of 23 cents. The previous raise, the board and management participate. We, on myself, I put $1 million on the previous raise at 46 cents. The current raise, I'm going to participate myself at $500,000. I fully believe in the project and where we can go, so I put my money where it needs to go.
That's very nice. I mean, you share price halves from 43 cents, and you're putting, you're averaging down further. So that is a good insider buying of something that you were not seeing that much of. Actually, one of our prior interviews, Atlantic Lithium, they're a bit of an outlier, in that we're not seeing. I don't think we've seen Arcadium or Albemarle management on the tape. It's rare. So I mean, that's a good validation for any of your minority shareholders who are questioning that.
Yeah, and I'm going all the way with Galan, and I see solutions. Yes, we are not where we want to be, but I can see solutions. And the interest, as mentioned, the evolvement of interest that we're facing because we have a product that we can sell. We have, in other words, the best concentrate in the world. If this was hard rock, it will be SC 12.9%, and you don't find that anywhere else. And the impurities level that we have, it's it gets converted very, very interested. So. But the message that I want to pass is that we understand the situation. Yes, there are things that could have been done better. We take those learnings. We improve in the team. We strengthen our position as it is. Financially, yes, we are in a position that we don't necessarily want to be, but commercially, we're in the strongest position that we've ever been. So.
Well, look, you have Daniel on board, and he's, through his SQM days, is very well plugged into the Chinese and Asian markets. So China is advanced in so many ways. They're active in Argentina. So, it's they're nimble, and they take advantage of the low price environment. So we'll see what happens with Glencore, but it looks like you have alternative options here in China.
Yeah, there are alternative options in China, and they're quite more than what we're expecting to find. We would love to place our concentrate in North America or Europe, but there is no one is there to convert that.
Right. As is so much of the case across the supply chain, China's just been doing this for 10, 20 years ahead. Anyway, great seeing you, JP. I'm glad we opportunistically saw you around here and had extra time so that we can take this time and appreciate it.
No, thanks, Howard.
Okay, take care.
So.